Conference, I'm now calling on our General Secretary, Eoin Ronayne, to present the annual report. Thank you, Eoin.
Good morning, colleagues. I'll be honest, it isn't a touch of laryngitis, it's karaoke. Colleagues, we are living in stirring times. Those of us who during the last years have been preaching the need for organisation in the industrial field have much to be thankful for. Many times we have had to pause and consider, will anything come of our labours? Those are not my words, colleagues, but those are the words of Big Jim Larkin in the Irish Worker of August 1911. But those words captured the here and now for the CPSU. How many times have we despaired of our colleague unions in the ICTU at times of national ballots on national agreements? How often have we voted no to protect low-paid workers, only to have our vote overturned at the ICTU? Well, colleagues, this time all has changed. Has anything come of our labours? Yes, it has. 2 weeks ago, this union, with many other unions who have not heeded our call in the past, overturned those at the heart of the Public Services Committee of Congress and delivered an overwhelming no to Croke Park 2. Colleagues, you and our members across this country delivered a huge message for change at the ICTU and at government. Colleagues, you and our members everywhere got up and stood up for our rights. And I say to you now, stand up and salute your members, because you have changed 26 years of history. As you know, we voted against Croke Park 1, but we were bound by the votes of the majority decision of the Public Services Committee and the staff panel of the civil service unions to work within it. That deal made 3 promises: no compulsory redundancies, no cuts in pay, and a review aimed at the restoration of pay for the first 35,000 of earnings. And it was to last to 2014. Yes, no redundancies. Yes, no cut in core pay. But whatever happened to the review of the first 35,000? Broken promise, broken deal. But there were key elements in that deal which were critical to our members: a commitment for any redeployment to be less than 45 kilometres from your current office or home location, but with the worker choosing that location. This meant members, for instance, in Clare, working in Ennis, could not be forced to move to Limerick just within the 45 kilometres, as their homes could have been 35 kilometres to the west of Ennis and 75 kilometres from Limerick. Flexi was left as it is in the agreed circulars, and overtime and increments were protected. And then in September, we met the Public Services Committee, or the PSC, to be told that the new government were stuck for $1 billion over the next 3 years, and that Fianna Fáil going out had left no strategy on how to cover the hole. So government asked us in December to meet with the public services unions to discuss how this might be handled, rather than wait to the end of 2014, when, according to the government, our economic projections would be only worse for this country. And so the PSC agreed to enter exploratory talks. Notwithstanding the unease on the executive, I led a team of head office officials and negotiators into those talks, with clear instructions that there could be no more pay cuts and no cuts in terms and conditions, that lower paid workers had taken enough. 22% of a cut since 2009, over €100 a week on someone on less than 30,000 a year. 6 weeks we were supposedly at talks, but it wasn't until the last weekend in February that anything like a real deal or real business got underway. They wanted what I called the kitchen sink and the copper pipes. By Sunday, it became clear that they wanted 2¼ extra hours for free, hours that could be banked, used at management's call as a replacement for overtime. The option for local management to radically change flexi time, through binding arbitration, potentially unlimited redeployment, some increment freezes, and the potential to regrade existing officers, possibly doing away with the staff officer grade. We told the PSC negotiators we couldn't, in any honesty, bring that back to our members, and independently of any other union, we chose to walk. We had no mandate to deliver pay cuts or cuts in terms and conditions, and our negotiating team stood fully by that mandate. To stay would only have meant one thing: compromise and concession on our mandate, and we could not, would not, and didn't do that. Our executive backed that stance. Our branch representatives met in the Gresham Hotel and stood foursquare. But the real verdict was yet to come. The members stood proud. On an 82% turnout, the members voted by 87% to reject Croke Park, a 20% increase on Croke Park 1. How much clearer can any vote be? We have great members and they deserve our recognition. Last year, at my first ADC as General Secretary, I set out a roadmap, building a better union, meeting the challenge. That plan was broken down into three key challenges: tackling pay and conditions, better internal and external communications, and restructuring the organisation of head office. It was clear last year that there had been a significant deficit in communicating union activity and issues to branches and members. I promised to address internal communications through a revamp of AINTHUS, better use of the website, and embracing the new technology of SMS and the IT-based membership system. Much of what was committed to in that address in ADC has now been achieved. A new AINTHUS newspaper in a newspaper format has been produced using union-friendly journalist skills, and in that regard I'd like to welcome Joe Mitchell from Belfast today to our ADC, his first conference as production editor. Our website has never been as up-to-date and as energetic, and our existing website, limited though it may be, is providing members and the world at large with updates including video and audio files. And the site will be replaced in 2013 with a new, more user-friendly version. A critical element in meeting the demand for better communications internally has been the introduction of the regular news update by email, which provides members with an overview of the activities at executive and branch or workplace level. This has been welcomed as a positive initiative at branch level and will be enhanced in further months through a planned redevelopment of the website to deliver a member-only section accessed by membership number. The news update will be reformatted in an e-format to mirror the new AINTHUS style. Further developments in the membership database and head office are also in train. This year's ADC is the first ever to be driven by the IT system, and the delegate registration and balancing process is an example of what can be achieved. And I'd like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to head office staff involved for delivering these changes. I gave an undertaking last year that we would seek to tackle the media deficit, and the launch of the Nothing More to Give media campaign is just one example of our continuing efforts to drive home in the media the reality faced by our members coping as they do with low pay. I'd like in particular to thank Michelle, Conor and Louise for stepping up to the front in the initial phase of that campaign. Nobody tells the story as good as the members themselves. Well done. At head office level, we've been working steadily throughout the year to refocus and redesign our services to members. After some delay, we selected a new Deputy General Secretary, Derek Mullen. His appointment made the reassignment of duties to officials possible, and I must record here my appreciation for the assistance and cooperation he has given me since his appointment. Together with Des Fagan as Financial Secretary, I believe we now have a strong core management team in head office. We also had the appointment of Dennis Keane as Industrial Relations Officer and Deirdre Niall as a replacement for the Revenue Partnership official that he held. Assistant General Secretary Cleona McNamara stepped up to head up the Membership Information Unit. The plans for the MIU were outlined to you here last year, and the service, now getting into full swing, will, I believe, be an important development for members seeking to protect their individual employment rights. And I wish Cleona and her dedicated team in head office every success in that venture. Last year, I stressed the role of each member in the success of the Union, and in particular the part to be played by our branch structure and the elected representatives in that process. I gave a commitment to travel to meet as many branch representatives as possible, and I have done my best to do that, but I haven't got everywhere. And I will continue to do that, because I believe being in touch with branch representatives and members is the only way we can reflect what this union is about. I stressed to the head office officials that, in my view, and in line with my commitment to ADC, that we in head office must endeavour to be out on the ground, meeting and visiting branches and workplaces rather than being holed up in head office. This has incurred some extra expense costs, but I remain of the view that officials should be on the ground with members rather than be office-bound. I believe strongly that this is what the members want and what members need if we are to be relevant in the workplace. The third and most critical element of the Building a Better Union plan is to protect and improve pay and conditions. Last year, we faced into the review of Croke Park 1. Looking back at the verbatim report from last year's conference, we clearly identified the areas of threat facing members. As I've already mentioned, Deeper, the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform, came looking for the kitchen sink and the copper pipes. We left the Lansdowne House talks because we were of the view that the proposed deal was outside the mandate given by the Executive. I could not in honesty stand over what was being proposed, and I was certain in my mind that I did not have the authority to agree to put that set of proposals before our members in a ballot. I feared that night, leaving Lansdowne House, that yet again the CPSU would be on the wrong side of a ballot of the public service unions. Together with the negotiating team and following consultation with the President and trustees, I decided that we should face that challenge and walk out of those talks. Together with the INMO, the IMO and Unite, we put together an ad hoc alliance of unions for a no vote. We did that because it was clear to me that we had a strong mandate from previous ADCs to work with like-minded unions to defend the interests of lower-paid workers. In the weeks that followed, our officials travelled, attending meetings across the country of our own members, while I, the DGS and the Financial Secretary spoke at town hall meetings as part of the Unions for a No Vote Alliance across the country, driving home the logic for a no vote. That alliance gave our union the opportunity to explain widely to other workers the reality of our members' pay and conditions, and it built a platform that eventually would see an overall no victory at the Public Services Committee of Congress. Colleagues, I stand here today and salute the strength of our membership and that of the other unions in making that historic decision to reject a set of national proposals not because we can hide behind other unions but and suits us to vote no, and that they someday will save us by voting yes, but because we know that when something is wrong, you should stand up and say no. We have never voted no because we felt safe that others would vote yes. We have always voted no because we believed whatever was on offer was bad for our members, and we were always ready to face the consequences. This time, we are not only happy with our own decision to vote no in such an overwhelming majority, but we salute and applaud our colleague unions in the PSC for the no vote, for throwing out Croke Park 2, because it is bad for us and bad for all public sector workers and the services they provide. Members have rightly asked, where now? Have we a plan B? Later we will debate Croke Park 2, and the Executive Committee has tabled an emergency motion setting out a set of commitments to members. One thing, though, is clear. As with the talks of Croke Park 2, we must defend at all costs our members' interests. We must engage in discussions and talks with Deeper if invited. To do so would be to deny our members their right of representation with their employer and to hand the initiative over to others in the Public Services Committee. but to negotiate our terms and conditions. Public Service Committee to negotiate our terms and conditions. But let me say clearly at this ADC, we walked out some weeks ago to protect our members' interests. And if needs be, we'll do it again. We have been asked to meet Kieran Mulvey of the Labour Relations Commission to outline our problems with Croke Park 2. Colleagues, I'm happy to do that. Indeed, I welcome the opportunity again to set out our views because clearly the government is hard of hearing. On the day after the Waterford workers and their union Unite, one of the unions who joined us in the No Alliance had a huge pensions victory in Europe for their members who were so badly let down by government and their former employers. And a day after our Taoiseach again threatened our members with compulsory redundancy, and only a week or so after the demise of that enemy of the worker, Margaret Thatcher, let me spell out where we stand. Let me spell out where we stand. Radical changes to redeployment, out. Changes to flexi-time, out. Changes to hours of attendance and banking hours, out. Cuts in pay and increments, out. In fact, Croke Park 2, out. Colleagues, what part of OUT does the government not understand? We have secured a historic decision at PSC, and we should rightly be proud that the CPSU is now for a change on the winning side. We have a proud record of standing up for lower paid workers, and together with our sister unions, we have achieved what many would never have thought possible. But we cannot be complacent. It's only half-time, and we face into very, very uncertain times. Let us build on our alliance with the other unions. Let us seek change and reform at ICTU and the PSC. Let us ensure that unions always represent what is right and fair for their members. Let us work tirelessly for the rights of workers. Let us never, ever sell them short. Colleagues, I'm proud to stand before you today as the General Secretary of a union which has always put the lower paid worker first. On the centenary year of the Dublin lockout, let me close as I started. Let me propose our annual report to you in the words of Big Jim. The great appear great because we are on our knees. Let us rise!